Welcome to the GoldMind Business Podcast, where I'm going to help you transform, scale, and thrive. I'm Bennett Santana, your guide on this journey of faith, purpose, and success. And today's episode is a very interesting episode. It's from Proverbs 13:4, which says, "The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich." So where do you think I'm going? I'm actually going to be talking about two different people, the lazy and the diligent. And so I want this verse to be a wake-up call to those who are really wanting to move forward and just they haven't just got off the chair, so to speak, and started moving out in their own destiny. And so I want to highlight for everyone that only diligence is what brings someone richness, right? Diligence is what brings success, and diligence is what will bring you fulfillment. And so today's episode, we're going to explore how to move from passivity to productivity. And I want to share some practical strategies of overcoming procrastination, writing your goals down, discovering your neat strengths, and the importance of taking immediate action. And as W. Clement Stone famously said, "Do it now." This powerful mantra will remind us of the action that will bridge us from where we're at, right? Wanting something, desiring something, and it's going to bridge us to our dreams and our future. And so today's going to be very exciting. And so we're going to take a deeper look into Proverbs 13:4. It says, "The soul of a lazy man desires, has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich." And this verse contrasts two mindsets. There are basically two mindsets. It's a lazy mindset, which is desires without action. This basically leads to frustration and unfulfilled dreams. And the diligent mindset. The diligent mindset is a mindset that is steady, consistent effort, brings results, satisfaction, long success. And I have to share this with you. I really think this is, these two mindsets are really developed in your home as a young age. And so as a young age, my father, he worked at the steel mill, very hard worker, working 3 shifts. I would see him were just diligent in that, in working for our family. But he also had like a side gig. He had a, side hustle, which was basically he was a mechanic, an alley mechanic. And so at a very young age, 10 years old, 11 years old, I'm out there working with him, making money with him. He would share, the fruit of the labor. And I'd be walking around with like $12, which is back then was like $100, $200 now, $300 now for a young person to have $12 back then. And so he instilled this mindset of basically get up and work kind of mindset. And I think a lot of this, folks that, they struggle with getting into action really originates back when they were young, right? My wife has a nonprofit, and I will tell you that the young people that we see, especially the young men and women that are super, super, super hard workers, and you know what? You don't have to ask them, hey, they're working on the occupancy team. You don't have to tell them to take the garbage out. You don't have to tell them to clean a counter or a tabletop or nothing. You know what? They move. And we find that 100% of the time of those young people that are like that, they turn out to be successful. I don't care where they're from. They may be from the inner city or maybe from affluent parents, but I will tell you that mindset, that diligent mindset is the difference for a person to be successful. And so, you know what the world problems is, right? The world problem is not greed. Charlie Munger, who's a billionaire, and some other, other folks have said this as well. The world is not driven by greed. It's driven by envy. And that's when we start to compare ourselves with others. When we look at our neighbors and we go, hey, we're gonna catch up to our neighbors. And next thing you know, we catch up to them, and guess what happens? Our neighbors refinance, and it's just an ongoing thing. And so it's very painful if you're comparing yourself to your neighbor, taking a look at what he has and saying, oh, I wish I had that. And the thing is that that is a very painful state, and that's what this verse is saying. It says he desires, or the lazy soul, he or she desires and has zero. You know what? Is that what you want? Do you want to have zero? And if you're desiring something, it's because you're at the zero level. And so I want to just let you know, let envy motivate you to take action. Like if you feel envy, I saw a young man, he was looking at my Jeep. I got a nice Jeep. It's not the, it's not the latest, newest, but it's made for, picking up a deer up in the mountain. There's all these lights and all this stuff. It's nice. It's used. It's a nice Jeep. He was looking at it. I said to him, hey, you desire that Jeep? He goes, yeah. I said, let that frustration drive you forward. I mean, harness that frustration. Harness that. Take that envy and use it as motivation. And so the thing is that a lot of times that envy will basically make a person pull out a gun and say, give me what you got, right? That's the ultimate thing I've seen. It's carjackings that come, hey, pull out a gun. And it's like, give me what you got. They have this thing where they valued that object in your life. And so that's kind of where this has gone negative. But I really, I work with kids in the inner city, and as opposed to them slinging rock, I'll tell them, hey, you could hustle. I could teach you how to hustle. You could very simply paint someone's house. You could clean their windows. Start a business, a window cleaning business, power spare. There's so many businesses that someone could start, and I've helped so many people start a business. And you just have to listen. You got to be honest. Honest by far everything. That's what holds the business exchange together. And motivated. And I see this so many times that those who are motivated, you can't push them down. They'll just jump back up. And you got to have that diligence inside of you to push yourself up when you get pushed down. You can't stay down. When I remember my business was like zero. I was in foreclosure. I had nothing going on. I remember I said to myself, I'm going to take 6 weeks off. So I took December to January 15th off, not doing anything. You know what happened? Shoot, about the 6 weeks, my legs started feeling weak. I couldn't get out the bed. I'm like, what? What's going on? This ain't Bennett Santana. This is not him. And I said, those legs, I just talked to those legs and I said, look, legs, you're going to get up and we're going to start walking. And we started walking through the Forest Preserve every morning. It was like 15 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. And I started getting up and I started getting that back up again. Because you know what? A body in motion stays in motion. But that's just physics, right? But if you're stopped, you're going to stay stopped. And so I want to share with you, it's like, so you got to get out of that level where you're envy. Get out of that level where you're just, I'm going to honestly, the Bible says it's just plain lazy. It's just saying plain lazy. I've kind of soft-coded it, right? But the issue is like the faster you realize the state and move from one state to another, you know what? All you got to do is just make one simple decision. It'll change your life. And this is something that, I heard you want to change? Change. That's all you got to do. You got to change. And so how do we move from passivity to productivity? And so I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide. I'm going to give you a wide brush here. And so, and I want to lay out that we're all in a state, or we're all moving. I just want to share this with you. We are all moving. And we're really into 3 stages, right? Every person is either in a preparation stage, a trial or tribulation stage, or a manifestation stage. And you go, well, what are those, right? I'm going to share that with you. Every person, especially young people, most young people are in a preparation stage. And what's the preparation stage? The preparation stage it has 5 parts. And the first part of preparation stage is you need to know God. And you go, what are you talking about? I need to know God. Is this getting spiritual? Yes, it is, because we are Homo sapien. And Homo sapien is man, Homo is man, sapien is spirit. We're spirit man. You have to come to, realize that we're spiritual in nature, right? And whatever your decision is, that I'm not trying to push, my belief down your throat. No, I'm not. That's not my intention, but you need to find out for yourself. I was, the biggest atheist out there. I said one time, I told these Christians in college, from evangelicals that came to evangelize, I said, I'm going into hell on a Harley. That's how bad I was. I sent them away crying. And so I had a revelation in my philosophy class, Pascal's wager, right? That Pascal's wager changed me, because I didn't believe God existed, to tell you the truth. I didn't believe Jesus existed, anything, But I found out what Pascal's wager was. I didn't like the odds. So Pascal's wager just is very simple. Does God exist? God doesn't exist. You believe, you don't believe. So if God doesn't exist and you don't believe, there's nothing to lose, right? If God doesn't exist and you believe, there's nothing to lose there either. If God exists and you believe, you get it, you win. But here's the big one. If God exists and you don't believe, you're going to pay. You're going to pay a big price. And that's when I had to say, I got to make sure about knowing God. And so the next step of preparation is knowing yourself. And the first thing is, I got to tell you, you have to know God, because we were made in his image. You won't know yourself until you know God, because we were built in his image. You won't truly know the power that you have, the declarative powers that are in our voices, that we can speak things and things happen, that we have an element of royalty in us. We have an element of a priest in us. These are things that when you realize these things, the identity that comes with knowing God, you run over there. You run over there, because everything's just going to be so different. Everything is going to be like, it's going to all make sense. I'm a king and a priest. That's what I found out when reading the scriptures, a king and a priest. So I'm a business owner. I could organize, manage, throw down money. I could also walk in the hospital, pray for the sick, and lay hands on the sick. I could bring a prophetic word for someone, encourage them. And be moved by God. Move at the very, very moment. I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes I go to Panera, and we're short a car. That's another story. And so I take advantage of my little scooter. I run over to Panera. I run over there. And for some reason, there's always a homeless person in the door. And you know what? I said to myself, I'm going to buy that person breakfast or lunch or dinner. And next thing you know, that person's right there, right behind me. And I'm like, hey, I'm taking care of his. That's so many times. So like God routes me in the right place to help. And that's what will happen to you when you realize where you're at, who you are, how you're made. You'll be used by God to take you. And you know what? A giving hand is better than one that's closed, right? A hand that's open, it's always better one that's closed. And that always comes back. That comes back. It's come back to me many, 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 many times. The third thing is once you know yourself, you need to know your abilities. What are your abilities? What do you say your abilities? There's a DISC theory that people are put into 4 quadrants: aggressive, non-aggressive, people-oriented, task orientation. And it's really defined by where you were born with your brothers and sisters. So if you were the oldest, what do they tell the oldest? Hey, take care of the others. So you become kind of bossy. The one in the middle, hey, he's not bossy enough. He has to use his verbal skills. They usually become the sales evangelists. And then the one on the bottom, he's bossy too. So then somehow the real detailed cognitive people happen. But listen, you need to know your abilities. And so you could do this online. You could take some assessments. We have like a DISC assessment that has helped so many people with knowing their skill set, right? I don't want to put a person who's cognitive in a salesperson, because in a sales position, because what has happened is that phone, when you make those calls, it gets heavy and heavy. I've seen it, right? You don't want to put a salesperson in a real detailed accounting job. Their eyes are just going to go like that, And so that's why it's important for the visionary leader in an organization to see the potential in a person and put them in, in the right places, right? Put them into the right places. And so once you know your abilities, you need to know what you were created for those gifts for. And so this is where you serve others. This is, the word ministry is basically comes from the, serving tables. So, and the difference between someone who serves the table with love, right? I've been in, restaurants where they, you get a compliment from the waitress and, and you just feel loved. But I've been in other places where you don't feel that love. It's just, you can hear it on the clicking on the tables and those kind of things. But you need to know what your skill sets are and who you've been called to serve. It's very, very important. And guess what? Money happens when you find that out. Because when you solve people's problems, money happens. Money happens. And so after that is knowing that what you're here to solve is really is building capacity. So, I send my daughters to college, to business school, to culinary school. My other has an MBA. Why do I do that? So they can increase their capacity. In my case, I've taken hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of training after college. And why? To build capacity. So you got to realize where you're at. If you're preparation stage, build capacity. If you got an associate's, get a bachelor's. You don't have a high school degree, get one. And move forward. And because this mind is like lifting, it's a muscle. And so you want to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Pee Wee Herman, right? That's what happened. No one could see your mind, but that's the difference that you have between two people, Pee Wee Herman or Arnold Schwarzenegger mentally, right? So the next step is after that, a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but you're going to have trials and tribulations. So troubles will come. That's part of life, right? The law of entropy. If I set something up here, it just goes disorganized. That's the law of entropy. And things do happen, right? It does happen. That stuff does hit the fan. It does. The question is, where are you going to be when that stuff hits the fan? Listen, when I went into foreclosure, I had to evaluate myself. What am I going to do? Let me just fall over and declare, summary judgment when I saw so many people lose their house within that first meeting of that judge. I said, no way I'm going to lose my house that fast. I might lose it, but I'm not going to lose it easily. And so you got to determine who you are in the trials and tribulations. And that's who you have to be. That you got to understand. When you're trials and tribulations, what you find out is that when you're in, if you hit a barrel of oil, what comes out of it? And so when trials and tribulations, it's like them hitting that side of the barrel. And whatever is inside of you comes out. If it's mucky, it comes out. If it's pure and good, that comes out. And you got to realize that in the trials and tribulations, that's why I call this GoldMind Business Academy. Because it says in Revelation, it says in Job that, when we go through the trials and tribulations, you get to a level, you become refined gold. Better get used to it because there's a lot of gold where we're going. Lots of gold, right? In fact, China just discovered a whole, I don't know how many, 88,000 metric tons of gold, right? It's just whatever we need just pops up. We need gold for computer, pops up, right? God supplies everything, That's why commodity prices has dropped 30% in the last 30 years. That's weird. We're using the heck out of lithium and all that stuff going down. You know why? God is there to supply what we need. And He'll supply that even in those trials and tribulations. And that's something, hey, rejoice. If you're in trials and tribulations, rejoice. And the third level, manifestation. Jesus, He manifested on the stage at 30 years old. He showed up. He showed up. You saw Him at 12 years old. You saw Him when He was born. And then He shows up and he manifested Himself. That's what the Word of God says. And one day you're going to manifest. You're going to show up and they're going to be like, whoa, who's this guy? Where did this person show up from? Where was this person? You know what? It's like there's going to be a time when the harvest is great and you're going to be ripe for the plucking, so to speak. I want to say that. And so this action step, listen, reflect on which stage of life you're in right now and get prepared. Start working on that next stage. Remember, the library comes before the mansion. Every mansion has a library. Start building that bookcase. Start building, when you're driving in the car, use that as a library and basically start renewing your mind. Renew it. You got to renew it. You got to renew this mind. And so that's step one. Step two, especially with when the new year comes around, write your goals down. Be sure to write them down. I write them down. I have my books. It's like many 30 years ago. And a lot of times, they may be delayed, but they'll surely come to happen. And so I want you to break those things down in manageable steps, components, right? Use whatever you need, a planner, a project manager tool, whatever you need. But you got to write your goals down. You got to review it. And so one of the things is make sure that you can check those off. That'll make you feel better. It'll help you break out of like areas where you're depressed. And you know what? Let me just kind of tell you what my definition of depressed is. Depression is absence of pressure. So if you don't feel like you get up and really hit it, right? That's depression. Depression. It doesn't have to be clinical. It's just that you don't have to push to go through it. Absence of pressure is depression. And so third step is know yourself, your strengths. Learn about your personality. Take a personality assessment. Once you know about how you're wired, how you're put together, it will bring you some peace. I know I was in a seminar with a philosopher named Fernando Flores, and he said, when you know what you know, and you know what you don't know, then you're going to get to a place of peace. And it's important for you to know what you know, and it's important for you to know what you don't know. And a lot of times, there are people who act like they know, and when they don't know, it just produces, ripples effect that's out there that just resonates and it doesn't bring peace. And so, step 4 is this: build a routine. Build a routine. And, productivity thrives on consistency. Be like a farmer, honestly. My daddy goes to sleep at 7:30. He's up by 4. I try to get up at least by 5:45 every morning. And I have my routine where I spend some time praying, journaling, reading. I spend that time with a cup of coffee and a toast of raisin bread with some good butter toasted. I look forward to it every morning. You got to build that daily schedule. And you got to, in that routine, you'll find that it'll just bring you motivation and will help you break out. Look at what the military does. Hey, they force you to make your bed. That's the other thing. Make your bed. That's a good routine. Make your bed. And so step 5 is take immediate action. Procrastination is the enemy of progress. And there was a speaker, Nightingale, who had a partner, Clement Stone, and his mantra was, do it now. Do it now. He would say that to himself hundreds of times in the day, and I suggest you do this. Write this down on your mirror. Do it now. Whatever it is, do it now. And so every day, say that to yourself. Do it now. 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 And so just to add a little information in terms about what my father would do what he taught me was he would say, do the toughest job first. I would say, hey, we got like 6 projects. Which one? We got to take the engines out. We got to do the brakes. We got to do this. We got to do that. And what he would say is start with the engine. Start with the hardest job. Pull that engine out. Pull that transmission out. Pull it out or paint that car first. We did the hardest thing first. And then once you do the hardest thing first, everything else seems, you've gone all over the hump. The other thing is, if you take too much time to think about something, your mind will talk you out of it 100%. And so if you have to make a decision, do it now. Do it now. You wait 5 minutes. Let me just gotta tell you something. When you're driving down the road, this is for the married men that are out there, the men who have girlfriends. When you drive down the road and there's this flower shop and you get this thing that says, hey, buy that person some flowers, you got a choice right there. You could either do it now or you can drive by. But if you drive by and you say, hey, I'll do this tomorrow, it will never happen. You got to be a person that could do it now. And you'll see a change in your life when you do it now. You start moving as the world wants you to move. And so the next step is celebrate small wins is what I want to say. And this is something that, it's that same proverb, Proverbs 13:19, it relates to your goals too. It says a desired accomplished is sweet to the soul. They found, from our scientifically, when we check something off on a to-do list, it releases an endorphin that makes us feel better. And so it's right here, a desired accomplished is sweet to the soul. But one of the things that I learned many years ago, I listened to a Tony Robbins cassette when he was just a young man back then. And he said, if you want to get a lot of people get into this negative cycle. And he said, if you want to get out of that negative cycle, take a small action that guarantees a positive result. And that small action will improve your potential. That potential will build your beliefs. Those beliefs will make you take better action. And you start to get, So there's sometimes I feel bad. I'll go out and change the brakes on my wife's car. And I'll change, because I was a mechanic, so I'll go over there, change those brakes. And once I, drive the car around, I feel good because I had a small little accomplishment. And that's one of the things you got to realize is that you may be stuck in this funk. You may be stuck in this thing where you're weighed down, like you got something's weighing you down. Take a small little step. Hey, you got a leak in the sink, fix it. You got broken window, fix it. You got this, fix it. You got a radio not working, you fix it. Those little things will add up. And you don't need to have another person say, oh, you did a great job. No. You got to say to yourself, I did good. That's what God said. He said, hey, it was good. After he built everything, he said, had to say it to himself, hey, that was good. And a lot of times you got to say, that is good. And that's a sweet, sweet accomplishment. And so that's how you motivate and move, right? It says, a soul of a lazy man desires has nothing, but you start taking small steps, and accomplish a desire. It's going to help you. It's going to be sweet to your soul. Your soul is just going to say, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love what you're doing. And so this is how you break the negative patterns and create a spiral of success. And so just let's recap. It's like, how do you move from positivity to productivity? And first of all, recognize what stage of life you're in and prepare for the next stage. Hey, wake up! You're in a stage. If you're 18 years old, school. You're 19, school. 20, school. 20. You know what? There's time for schooling. And you got to be in school. Get your GED if you don't have a high school degree. Go to Job Corps if you need some help to do that. Get yourself a certificate. Keep on moving forward. You got your degree already? Become a real estate agent. I am. I'm licensed real estate. Why? I use that to buy, I use that for knowledge. So I could have those distinctions. My daughter has real estate license, right? And so that's simple. Once you move those steps, you just, start the preparing. Write down your goals. Create clarity and direction for yourself. Do a DISC assessment. Do an assessment in your personality. Find out more about yourself. It's build consistent daily routines. And so next thing is make sure take immediate action. That's the mantra. Do it now. It's what I want to tell you. Do it now. And above all, celebrate the small wins to reinforce progress and motivation. Remember, productivity isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. And so, when I'm creating these, videos, these videos I'm doing, and I'm saying quantity, I know I could be better. The better is coming. I'm learning to be better. But I had to start somewhere. And so, that's the thing is that productivity is not about perfection. So just let you know, envy may trap some, but diligence sets you free to achieve lasting success. And when you feel you're envious for someone, just jump back and say, hey, you know what? Read that to yourself. Read that to yourself. Keep that memorized. Say, the soul of a lazy man desires nothing. Man desires and has nothing. But the soul of the diligent, and I'm a diligent soul. Just say that to yourself. I'm diligent. I'm productive. I'm persistent, right? And so Proverbs 13:4 reminds us that the desire is only the beginning. It's diligence that brings fulfillment. Moving from passivity to productivity takes efforts, but there's a reward. There's a big reward. If you could, when you do this, you'll have financial success, you'll have personal growth, you'll have satisfaction in knowing you're living out your purpose. It's well worth it. And so I want to ask yourself, where in your life or your business have you been passive? In other words, where have you been lazy in your business? Is it in your bills? Well, give it to someone. I know with me, I have a stack of bills. I've been lazy. I gave it to someone, right? Hey, do that for me. And they were like, oh, I love this. Someone's good at what you don't want to do. Move that off, right? So you're not in that area. Find out what areas you're passive and write down the small steps that you could take today that you could move toward your goals. And so take action now. The diligence are richly rewarded because they work with intention and purpose, and you could be the same. And so I want to thank you for tuning in to the GoldMind Business Podcast, where we help you transform, scale, and thrive. If this episode inspires you, subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Bennett Santana, for practical tools and strategies of unlocking your potential. And so stay tuned. I'm going to be doing some free webinars, and we're going to be putting together these webinars that are going to be called the 7 Pillars of Business, where I'm just going to share with you my knowledge is related to these pillars. And so until the next time, I just want to say this to you. Remember, GoldMind. It's about getting through those tough times. So just want to say to you, never give up and always build up. This is Bennett Santana. Thank you so much.